Hi everyone, Paul here from familywheels.ca, and welcome back to our month-long series looking at all sorts of little mechanical questions that you might have about your vehicle. Now, I've met up with Justin Knibbe from Knibbe Automotive here in Calgary to answer some of those questions. He's my own personal mechanic, and they do a great job of making things very approachable, which is why I thought they'd be a good partner for this series. Now, this time around, we're looking at a problem that I actually had in my own personal car last year, and they helped deal with: squealing brakes. It can be super annoying, but not always necessarily a sign of something severe. So let's hop inside, meet up with Justin Knibbe, and see what he has to say about that annoying screech that you might be having in your car right now here on Family Wheels.
So you're wondering why your brakes are squealing. So for that, we're next to this Porsche. I have the front right wheel off so you can see what the brakes look like. So this is a brake rotor, and as you drive down the road, the brake rotor is spinning with the tire, with the wheel. So this goes around and around and around. Then there's brake pads inside this big red caliper, and the brake pads squeeze the rotor, and that's how you stop. Sometimes brakes will just squeal because there's a little piece of metal touching another piece of metal. So for example, there could be a little shred of the metal brake pad that's just rubbing on the rotor, causing a squeal, a high-pitched, really frustrating squeal. Also, sometimes you can have little specks of dirt or rock get stuck in the brakes. So when your brakes are squealing, it doesn't necessarily mean the brakes are worn out. So the way you'll know a brake squeal is a squeal you need to get checked out is when it is squeaking or squealing all the time, even when you're not touching your brakes. So if you've ever heard a car drive down the road and it's got a high-pitched squealing sound coming from it and they're not braking, that is one of the squeals showing that your brakes are almost being worn out. So I have a brake pad here with a little squealer tab. Now this little metal piece will actually touch the rotor when the brake is worn right out and cause that squeal that you hear that is a problem squeal. When a car is driving down the road, they're not braking, and you hear a squealing sound, that's the warning saying that the brake is worn out and this little metal piece is touching the rotor to warn the driver. So this brake pad, this is the back of the brake pad material. That's what's bonded to the wear material. This material here is what wears out. So when a brake pad is brand new, this material will be about 12 millimeters or so. Right now I have about 3 millimeters remaining, and 3 millimeters is when you start replacing your brake pads. So this pad is right where it needs to be replaced. Now when the brake pad is worn out, so I have an example in front of me of one where all the material is worn out. There was no squealer warning tab on this design, so they were given no warning. There was no squealing, and one day it just started giving them a terrible grinding noise. And that's because the brake pad itself is gone, and now they're starting to wear into the backing, which is a very hard metal, and they're actually grinding right into the backing of the brake pad. So that does damage to the brake pad, which is worn out anyway, but also to the brake rotor, as now you're actually cutting into the brake rotor itself, causing these grooves you can see here. Now that's also not a safe condition to drive in because there's no brake material left on your brakes, so you're actually just driving and braking with metal to metal. I don't want to alarm everyone. Normally you will not get to the grinding condition because you'll have had your brakes checked in the last 6 months to a year. And brake pads don't wear out that quickly, so automotive technicians will usually catch them around 3 millimeters or so, which gives you lots of time to replace them before you get to this grinding condition. So there are products out there that you can spray on your brakes to try and cut down noise or to clean the rotors. Without knowing what's in the compounds or what you're spraying, I would not recommend spraying pads or rotors because different materials are not made to work with different brake pads, and it could start to break down the glues or the different compound inside the brake pads themselves. So without the proper experience, spraying the rotor and getting some onto the brake pads could actually cut down the efficiency of the braking. So that is something I would leave to the automotive technicians. So squealing brakes is very frustrating to drivers, and it's kind of the bane of the automotive industry. Brakes will squeal even though there's not a problem, and it can be very difficult to get rid of. I would talk to your automotive technician because brake noise is very frustrating, and they will warranty noises. Now, I do know that some dealerships have been struggling with different manufacturers, different brands of cars that they just cannot get that squealing out of. But again, if you ever have any questions or concerns about your brakes, the sounds or the feeling or their effectiveness, bring it in, have an automotive technician check it out, and just give you that peace of mind, because brakes are a crucial part of your driving experience.